Hey everyone, excited to be back to this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate, coming to you live from my home office. So I just had the opportunity to get back from Europe, where I visited my family in Italy. I was there for about 6 days and got to see my uncles, my cousins, my aunts, people that I hadn't seen in at least 6 years. Back in 2018, I made a trip back. So it was really nice to be able to see them. And then my wife and I took a train from there to Switzerland, was there for a few days, and we ultimately went to London and made it back here yesterday. So it was a really nice trip. It was really the last international trip we're going to be able to make before our first child's here in May, which we're really excited about. So I'm glad that I was able to take that opportunity during this kind of slower time to be able to, kind of disconnect from social media and YouTube. And now I get back in the swing of things, and I'm really excited for the opportunities that this year has in store. So in today's video, what I wanted to do was share some insights pertaining to being intentional about the actions you take on a day-to-day as you start getting into the year, because it's very easy for us to get really excited in the first few months of the year and then lose the momentum as we go along in the year, and then ultimately just kind of fall back into our bad habits. So in today's video, I'm going to share some insights pertaining to a book that I read a while back that kind of changed my perspective on the importance of a morning routine, and then ultimately give you guys a call to action or a challenge to try to incorporate some of that into your own routine as well. So before we dive into this video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you can like and subscribe to this channel. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message and learn about the many facets of commercial real estate. So now you've done that, go ahead and like and subscribe below. Let's go ahead and dive into this episode. All right, so the purpose of this video is to challenge you to be intentional about the day-to-day actions you take that will ultimately lead to you to either success or, unfortunately, failure. And so many years ago, I read this book called The Miracle Morning. And the premise of this book is to try to challenge the individual who reads it to incorporate some morning routines into their schedule. Some of the items that they talk about in this book include journaling, reading, exercise, meditation. So all these different actions that you can take on a day-to-day bring you into a mind state that will propel you throughout the day. And so when I read this book, I found it very profound, and I said, okay, well, let me see what I can do to try to incorporate some of these routines into my day-to-day. And so I think at the time I was waking up at 6 a.m., I decided to put my alarm clock back to 5:30 a.m. and ultimately starting to incorporate these different actions into my daily routine. So I woke up right away. I'd read 10 pages of the book that I was reading. Then I would dive into a meditation. So I would sit there for about 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on whether my mind was racing or not. Sometimes if my mind wasn't racing, I'd be able to sit for longer, but other times I was only able to commit maybe a minute to sitting there independently. And over time, that got better. So I was able to increase that to about 5 minutes, which was really nice to be able to do, to just kind of disconnect from the world. And then I would dive into the writing piece. So they talk about journaling in the book, but for me, I started writing blog posts about different personal development topics I was learning about, which ultimately led me to starting to write my first book and then my subsequent books. I've written 7 books at this point. And it all started from writing 250 to 500 words a day and just being diligent about that every single day. And so, I've written at this point probably over 1 million unique words. And that's all because of the habits that I incorporated into the daily routine. And then finally, I would do a quick plyometric workout. So I do push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, jump squats, whatever I could do for that day, I decided to do. And what I found was that as I started to have this deliberate morning routine, I started having more energy. I started feeling more clear-minded because the meditative piece really helped me kind of clear my mind, so that as the day got going, I was able to make decisions more quickly and be able to process information more readily. And what it did is also it helped me build momentum for the day, because by 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., I already had done a good amount of stuff in the morning, whereas most people would be waking up at 6:30 or 7 a.m. or 7:30. I've already kind of taken on the day and done some positive things with my life prior to them even waking up. And so that really helped me start the day off right. And those are easy ways that you can become intentional about your day-to-day. And I know that that doesn't necessarily directly correlate to business per se, because I could sit here on the call or sit here on the video and say, hey, you should be making 50 calls a day, or should be canvassing 10 tenants a day or whatever else. And that's all great information. That's all very good advice. But I would say even before then, having a deliberate morning routine will do more for you in your life than sticking to the day-to-day focus on the prospecting side, which I think is the lifeblood of business. And we need to be able to do that on a day-to-day. But even before you get your day started in your business side, focusing on your morning routine is really going to impact you in a positive light so that you do have the focus, the energy, and the commitment to take on the prospecting aspects throughout the day. So I would challenge you in this video to focus on incorporating some form of morning routine into your week. So as I said before, I was doing reading of a good book, whether that mostly nonfiction. I didn't really read a whole lot of fiction books. I read about 10 pages of that. Maybe look to incorporate some journaling, write about your thoughts for the day, any ideas that you may have. If you decide you want to write a book, do the same thing, 250 to 500 words a day. Don't worry about editing the words. Just focus on writing. And then I'm a big believer in getting the blood flowing. So doing some form of plyometric workout, whether that's jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, jump squats, split squats, whatever that is. And you don't necessarily have to have weight involved. It could really just be your body weight. Is going to be really good for getting your blood flowing and making sure that you start the day off right. So hopefully you gain some value from this video. I'm looking forward to a great 2025. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, maybe in the comments, about the things that you guys are gonna do to be intentional this year. Because I'd love to be able to engage with you guys and hold you all accountable to reaching the goals that you want to achieve. Please reach out to me at 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at raphael@sumcg.com. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.